Like dominoes, I can make your walls fall down. This woman knows how to make the world go round. And just like gravity, we breaking ground. I'll be your home, I can be your kingdom. When the rhythm it vibrates.
Right into the interview with James, a fellow Korean influencer living in Korea. So James, it's time to tell us your experience. Over to you.
Good morning, Favor. How are you? I hope you're doing well. So your first question was, how was my experience dating a Korean lady? Well, this might be quite shocking to hear, but most of my experiences and the people that I know around me, their experiences has been quite negative. Now, this is not saying that all relationships are like this. As you know, every relationship has its ups and downs, but most of the positive ones that I've had never really progressed to a relationship. There were just a few dates here and there. But in my opinion, Korean women and I don't mesh well, and it's not all women, but it's mostly for small things. For example, I was texting this girl, and she wanted to keep regularly texting, which is fine, but I had to go to work, and I had to teach children for most of the day. So I stopped texting her back for an hour or so. And then that evening when I got off work, I texted her and said, "Hey, how are you? How was your day?" And she replied with, "Oh, you're still interested in me? I thought you weren't interested in me since you didn't text me back." And she continued to tell me that she was already talking to somebody else. So I think that kind of mindset is a reason why my experience has been negative in Korea. How is dating life generally in Korea? This is actually quite a difficult question because it changes so quickly. I would say it depends on who you are and what you want out of the relationship. Like, if you want to meet a Korean boyfriend or Korean girlfriend and you want to progress to something serious, then that's going to take time. Korean parents, while from the outside it doesn't seem like they are in charge of your relationship, the child still places a lot of emphasis on their approval. And a lot of that has to do with children still live at home. It's very common until you're in your 30s and 40s. So a lot of the things that you have to do is date someone, get to know them, and you're doing this hopefully for the specific purpose of getting married. But a lot of it is culturally restricted, so there are things you have to do in private, but there's also things you can do in public. How do people meet each other in Korea? It literally changes every day. Tinder and Bumble have become very hot applications here in Korea, but people still meet in the traditional way. There's they go to what's called a hunting bar, where you can actually roulette, where you go and you sit down at a table, and at that table you play games, you get to know people, and then just kind of rotate. But dating in Korea overall, it changes every day. The majority of people, though, meet through reference. So I could be like, "Hey, I know somebody that's looking to date somebody, and I know that you're looking to date someone. So do you guys want to meet?" And then normally you show the other person the picture, and then both ways. And if they agree, they agree. If they don't, then it doesn't really work. Public displays of affection in Korea. When I first arrived, this is something that I didn't see a lot of because of COVID-19. But slowly, I've started seeing more people showing like PDA outside. So to answer your first question, does it happen? Yeah, and it's happening more and more every day. So you'll see couples hugging, and you'll see couples kissing on the roads, and in the streets, and in the subways, actually sometimes. So it does happen. Traditionally, it didn't. So there aren't really rules against it per se, but I think it's grown into a cultural norm that it's not commonly accepted for you to do that. But the younger generation, with their "I don't care" mentality, are starting to slowly challenge those traditional norms, and it's very fascinating to watch, especially when you have a specific perception of something, and then like it proves you wrong, and someone does the exact opposite, and then the next person does the exact opposite, and so on and so on. So I think it's interesting. Yes, I know plenty of people that have dated foreigners, still dating foreigners, Korean people, I mean. And then I have a lot of foreigner friends who are dating Koreans. Like, they've been dating them for years, and some are even married to them.
How you like that? Bada bing, bada boom, boom, boom. How you like that? Da 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 da. Now, look at you, now look at me. Look at you, now look at me. Look at you, now look at me. How you like that? Now, look at you, now look at me. Look at you, now look at me. Look at you, now look at me. How you like that?
So it can happen, but a lot of it ties down into, like, can you communicate with each other? Can your partner speak English, or can you speak Korean well enough to like actively have a conversation and like talk to one another about important things? Secondly, I think a lot of it does tie back to the parents. Will the parents approve of their child dating someone who is not Korean or not Asian? And that turns into negative stereotypes. I find that the parents are more accepting if the foreigner is white. Now, I know that's going to sound a bit racist, because it is a bit racist, but that's just the thing. Like, there are more parents opening up to this more and more. Like, the mindsets are changing as parents are getting younger. But yeah, it's a generational gap that's been over time. Like, foreigners have both helped Korea a lot and done Korea wrong a lot. So sometimes they approve and sometimes they don't. But who sets the bill? That is a very common thing. It is very common for the man to pay on the first date, and even consecutive dates. So, for an example, you and I go on a date, and then at the end of the date, I will pay for dinner. But in Korea, normally dinner is followed by a call. That way you can keep conversation going if it was a good date. So normally the woman will pay for the coffee, in my experience. So it's not balanced like it is in some places in like the West, but it's slowly getting there, especially as like feminism is starting to build here in Korea. More people are wanting to go Dutch. Also very common that you'll hear someone say they want to go like panpan or taro here in Korea. So it's like they'll want to split the bill, but it doesn't happen that often still.
Thank you for